We are at American Term Products today, and we're going to talk machine monitoring. I'm with Julian, but before we get into that, I have to give you an overview. Yes, this company's been around for over 40 years. Yes, there's over 100 employees. Yes, over 100,000 square feet. And yes, one more time, gotta say it, over 30 machines between two facilities. And we have to go into the details. Why machine monitoring? Why Datanomix? Some of this I have an assumption for, but I never like to assume. I know you don't either. We like to hear the successes from the people on the floor. Julian, thank you for being here, first of all. I cannot wait to learn more about why and how you're applying Datanomix to your shop.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Welcome to American Term Products. We're happy to have you here. So Datanomix, yeah, I mean, production monitoring, machine monitoring. We are a high volume manufacturing contract manufacturer, precision machine components. So we saw a need that we really need to understand how our processes were running, how we're utilizing the equipment, what type of downtime we're seeing, especially on machines that have very low cycle times. Every bit of time, every second, every minute is critically important to producing parts. So Datanomix kind of helped us provide those insights into where are we losing some of that time? How can we better utilize our equipment? How can we improve and really help the operators manage those production processes? And so that's where Datanomix came in. We started looking at them a couple of years ago, and really we went into this journey not knowing, we didn't know what we didn't know. Datanomix helped us understand how they can help us in terms of understanding our production process, utilization, how quickly are we starting production in a given shift, how quickly or how soon are we ending those shifts and producing parts. And that's just the start of it. We're looking at tool life management, we're looking at how we can better support our operators, again, in terms of managing those processes.
I think about this, Julian, and I think you gave a great summary as to the consideration for it. There's a lot of shops out there that don't know what they don't know, and would 100% agree with you, but they still hesitate for some reason, like maybe I know enough, right? But it's really important to understand. And I say that knowing the hydromat machines, knowing the capability of that each of these pieces right here might be 10 seconds, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, you're producing a part every 10 seconds, but the overall part might be a minute to produce on some other machine out there, right?
Sure.
So you're producing parts so daggone quickly that if you're down for a minute, you've lost 5 parts. And I'm doing basic math, of course, right?
Absolutely.
But if you're down for a minute, you've lost a few parts. If you're down for an hour, if you're down for a day, what is causing that? So the idea I 100% get. So my question, I'm going to jump all the way to the end before we get into the middle, Julian. My question is, has Datanomix given you the tools to understand what's going on in a machine shop that thrives off of producing parts quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we didn't know what we didn't know. What Datanomix provided was those greater insights into efficiency, into utilization. We've been able to look at or almost baseline a machine and look at the stability of cycle times, for example. How stable and consistent are our cycle times? That's a big deal. We don't want to see any types of fluctuations. We want to have consistent production. And so we've been able to kind of see some pockets of inefficiency and engage with the operators. I mean, really, Datanomix has provided us an avenue to engage with our production operators, to really kind of have those constructive conversations by saying, look, we see a little bit of pocket of downtime. What happened during this time period? Did you struggle with a tool? Did you have any issues with inspections? And so we've really been able to engage our operators, and Datanomix has absolutely provided us that benefit to look at those larger pockets of downtime. We're not out looking at the, why were you down for 10 seconds? Why were you down for 20 seconds? We're looking at the big chunks of time, the 5 minutes, the 10 minutes, the 15 minutes. That's really the low-hanging fruit for us right now in our journey. And so we've been able to have those constructive dialogues with the production personnel, and really try to understand how they're managing the process. Because it isn't just about standing next to a machine and pressing buttons, right? We say, look, you own this process. You need to manage this process. And Datanomix has kind of provided those insights to say, how efficient am I at starting my shift? How efficient am I during my shift and toward the end of my shift, to make sure that we're utilizing the equipment the most throughout that given shift.
There's a twofold question. I'm gonna try to remember the second one because I can't ask you yet because it might confuse me for the first question. I'm gonna try to remember it. But based on what you were just saying about working with your operators and maybe having, someone overseeing everything they're doing, we're gonna get into that in just a minute. The first question I wanna ask you is because you've already said it twice, I've said it once, and I'm about to double down on it, so I'm gonna say it twice as well, is we don't know what we don't know. Is there an example that you might say was the biggest thing that you thought you knew, but you didn't know? We don't know what we don't know. Is there
Right.
a pinpoint you're like, holy, you know what, guys? I'm not gonna say it, but holy, you know what?
Absolutely.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of times, and I'll use a sports analogy because we all love sports analogies. Sure, I mean, we can win the game, we can meet our customer demand, we can make our shipments, but how well did we play the game, right? You kind of go back, and Datanomix is a great feature called the after action report. We can go back, look at a very easy to read calendar, we can look at every day, how did we perform? Yeah, even though we met the shipment, customers happy, great quality product going out, but how well did we play that game? How well did the machines run? And that's really kind of that big aha moment is almost, wow, look, we had an hour of downtime. I'm using an example, an hour average of downtime every day. And guess what? It happened during the same time period. We're not talking about lunches or breaks, but we're kind of seeing these patterns, these trends. So Datanomix really kind of gave us that insight over looking at a particular job that ran over let's say a week's time period, and now we can start to see some trends. Why are we always down for an hour at the beginning of the shift? Maybe it was because of a tool, or maybe because the machine wasn't warm or up to temperature, but we had those insights now. We can start asking the questions and try to develop some answers to become more efficient. So yeah, absolutely, we've been able to kind of see those larger pockets of downtime that we really never knew we had, and we really never asked those questions because we're making our shipments, right? We're meeting our monthly demands.
Which is a great job to lead me into the question that I wanted to ask you previously and help me remember it, Julian. You're a pro on camera. Did you know that already? Did you know you're a pro?
No, thank you, Tony. I appreciate the compliment.
So leading me into that next question is, you're obviously working really well with everyone on the floor. And one of the biggest questions that comes out, not necessarily to the management, because the management know that they need to know more about what's going on the floor, but
Right.
to everyone who sees it being implemented in the shops, all the workers out there, all the
Right.
people putting in the daily grind, is I don't want Big Brother watching me. I
Right.
don't want somebody to oversee what I'm doing. And we
Right.
always talk about gamification, or when I was a machinist, I used to try and beat my own score. I could get more done today than I did yesterday.
Yeah.
Like that was how I thrived every day moving forward. When you're working with the folks on the floor that are out here, do they also find this to be helpful for them? Are they enjoying the process when you communicate also?
So I think early on, that was you certainly raised a great question. It was this Big Brother mentality. Is this going to be used in some type of disciplinary type way? And the easy answer from ATP and from Datanomix was no, absolutely not. And I know Datanomix is in partner with companies that are going to use that tool in that manner. And so one of the big things early on was we wanted to share with the operators to say, look, this is here to help you. This is to drive our conversations. What happened today? How can we help you? Not only that, it also provides a little bit of justification to say, look, I'm having a problem every day, maybe during a particular time period or with a particular part number. And now we have the records of that. It isn't just an operator saying, hey, I'm having a problem with this job. We have the data now. We have the timeline. We have the history to back that up. And so I think that's starting to come around. I mean, certainly from a cultural perspective, as managers and management and as an entire team, we need to drive that message to say, Datanomix is here to help you, and we need to continue having those conversations on a daily basis. So I think from the executive level to the supervisory level to the operator level, that message is starting to be understood a lot more. And I think in that term, it's going to help, embrace adding more machines online, because other production personnel who may not be directly involved with Datanomix now, they kind of see that, oh yeah, I've seen that tool help so-and-so on this machine. I want to use that tool as well.
Really well described, Julian. Maybe one of the best I've heard described when I bring up the Big Brother conversation. You've been utilizing Datanomix. You were first having conversations about the idea of production monitoring or machine monitoring.
Right.
You were looking at Datanomix. You've now implemented Datanomix in total, a little over 2 years now, more or less, I believe. When I think about that, Has Datanomix given you the insight that you had hoped for over that span? Have you improved the productivity? Have you appreciated kind of what's going on? And is there more to what you're trying to accomplish moving forward with ideas? Because Datanomix is one of those companies that is constantly evolving with the times.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not buy a software,
right,
own it for life. It's gonna stay the same. You know, it's constantly evolving with the times. What do you see in the future of working with them as the years go on?
Yeah, no, great question. So early on when we talked about production monitoring, we wanted something more than just red, yellow, green. You know,
Right.
I think there's a lot of solutions that are out there that says, okay, my machine's running, my machine's idle, or my machine's down for an alarm. You know, so when we started looking for vendors, I mean, number one, wanted to partner with an organization that was obviously going to be very supportive. They're very innovative, right? It's not static software. Datanomix does a great job of listening to their customers, listening to the industrial base, and saying what do customers out there, what are they looking for? Maybe it has to do with tool life. Maybe it has to do with, hey, can I view this type of report? You know, hey, I really want to better understand this particular aspect of my operation. And Datanomix is always listening and always providing this feedback to saying, hey, yeah, we can do that. Maybe not in the exact way that you may think you want it, but here's a way that you can do that. Here's a way you can monitor that. And we have a great customer success engineer with Jeff Patch. He is essentially an extension of our team.
Nice.
We're fortunate enough for him to be local to us, proximity-wise, and so he's really kind of part of the ATP team. Only phone call, email, text away. So Jeff has really helped us kind of understand what our capabilities are now. You know, we're in this crawl, walk, run approach.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that we're still probably crawling because there's so many features that Datanomix can provide organizations. And we don't want to drink from the hot fire hose. We want to be able to understand what we're working with now and kind of take those baby steps, but do it in a right way that we're not stagnant, that we're constantly making that progress toward that walk and then eventually toward that run. Datanomix and Jeff have done a great job in terms of kind of metering kind of the functionality within the system to say, hey, I think you guys would really benefit from looking at the fast track. Every day you're looking at fast track. How did I do yesterday? How did I do, today? What are the trends looking like? Looking at the timelines, looking at the after action reports, the cycle time reports. One of the great features that we've just started using from the operator side of things is the notebook. Mm-hmm. So operators are able to kind of utilize a digital notebook. We used to be heavily, paper, shift notes, handover, right? Paper everywhere. Now we've been utilizing the notebook. What's great about that from an engineering perspective is our operators are entering notes. Hey, I had a problem with the bar feeder last night, or I had trouble with this tool. Every morning, our engineers are seeing that notebook report from the previous day. And now they can start the day already productive, going out to the machine. Hey, I saw you had a problem with this or that. So some of these features that have just helped us understand what is happening the previous day, what our trends are, has been really beneficial. We've saved, I would say we've easily, on our production machines that have had Datanomix, we've easily cut out an hour of downtime. Wow. Overall. And that may be over the course of several days or a week, but for us, that's big. With our low cycle times, just increasing utilization or decreasing downtime by about an hour is really big for us. We're seeing more stability within our cycle times because now we can see if that cycle time is deviating from what it should be, we know something maybe is not functioning properly and we're able to address it. So yes, a little bit reactive now in the crawl phase, but we're starting to be a lot more proactive in looking at the data ahead of time and having those conversations with the operators.
Julian, so well expressed. I mean, absolutely incredible. Certainly I couldn't have conveyed it. That's why we interview the experts like yourself. That's why we do these agnostic interviews to make sure you're getting the information you deserve from the people who are finding success in it. If anything in your shop might need some attention, give Datanomix a call. You've heard it firsthand from Julian here. And if you have more questions for ATP or myself, leave it in the comments below. We'll make sure that they find you. We'll make sure that we find you. And last but not least, you see this right here? Just as Julian said, get rid of your paper. Well, thank you all for watching. We'll see you again soon.